Was one of those days you ask folks where were they, and they definitely remember. It has been 60 years since the Beatles made their American debut on the Ed Sullivan Show. 73 million Americans turned into their first appearance, and it launched American Beatlemania. Today, for a look back at those historic events, we have Martin Babicz. He's a CU Boulder historian. Thanks for making the drive in today. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, I am just so curious about kind of the cultural impacts we saw from that moment 60 years ago that it just like sticks with people to this day. What comes to your mind?
Well, America was changing. Kennedy was assassinated 77 days before, and that was really the end of the post-war period of consensus and optimism. America is going to enter a period of polarization over civil rights, over Vietnam, over young people. And the Beatles arrived right as that is happening, so they come to represent part of that.
Yeah, one of the things we were going to talk about too was kind of the reflection on not only pop culture but the politics as well. Talk about how that all kind of mixed in.
Okay, well, 1964 was a very divisive election. The two big issues were Vietnam and the civil rights movement. And before that, for the 12 years before that, it was middle of the road. The candidates weren't that extreme, but in '64 you had Lyndon Johnson, one of the most liberal presidents, and Barry Goldwater, a very conservative senator, running against him. So it was a very divisive election, and like I said, the big issues were the civil rights movement. Johnson will sign the Civil Rights Bill of 1964 in July. And the Vietnam War, Gulf of Tonkin, happened in August.
Wow, just looking at some of those photos, though, are just amazing. There was also an impact from a family-to-family level as well about the people who loved the Beatles, but the parental reaction as well.
That's exaggerated, I think, in the way people tell it. There may have been some parents who were anti-Beatle, but I don't think that was that common. My wife was lucky enough to see the Beatles at Red Rocks. Her mom took her.
Amazing.
Her mom may not have been a Beatles fan, but her mom wasn't anti-Beatle. Her mom took my wife and my wife's sisters to that concert.
Wow, how fantastic. What would you say 60 years later are some of the impacts we might still be feeling from such a monumental moment?
Well, the thing that surprises me is when I teach at CU, I'll often have students come to class wearing a Beatles t-shirt.
Yeah.
When I was in college in the late 70s, nobody was wearing Frank Sinatra t-shirts. So there's not this gap that there was when I was in college.
That's incredible. Well, thank you so much for stopping by today. We really appreciate it.